I'm going to do something you're not supposed to do, because you really shouldn't laugh at any wrestler getting injured, but this was the highlight of my entire year. I'll say it's because of the way they recovered and Snoop Dogg hitting the elbow, but it was hilarious because night one you had Pat McAfee and like Steve Kettle or whatever his name was, the football player, jumping over the barrier and doing the what's going on here? Miz is having an impromptu match, and then night two comes around and you're thinking, well, who could it be now? They've done the McAfee spot, they've got to top that. So maybe they're finally going to deliver on LA making a WrestleMania appearance, or it could be some absolute legend from the past. And then this Bellends music hits, and you think, well, they're not actually doing that. And then he spends 5 minutes sweating his fat arse down to the ring, and you realise, no, they are doing that. And oh God, we're going to have to sit through a Shane McMahon match, which is going to go 5 minutes longer than it was supposed to. And then Michael Sidgwick. They start the match, and I think you'll agree with me on this one. Michael Cole's greatest call of his entire career. Yeah. Shane's still got it, and he hasn't said the word "it" before Shane lands, goes, oh, my bloody leg! Goes down, and they realise he's not getting back up. He's not getting back up. And so Miz just has to start a fight with Snoop Dogg, who hits one of the greatest elbows of all time. And then we never see Shane McMahon again. Thanks, WWE.
The single best moment of wrestling in 2023 was Sami Zayn at Crown Jewel, where he beat JD McDonagh with the Blue Thunder Bomb. That blew my brain. It still did. As we all know, the Blue Thunder Bomb is the least devastating move in all of sports entertainment because it doesn't pin anybody. And what happens is you say that and you get the crazy internet people going, oh, well, he beat AJ Styles with it once. That doesn't prove your point. That proves my point. When you get into its success ratio, its success rate, it's like 0.4%. Now, the reason it deserves to be mocked in the way that we do is because it's a flipping cool maneuver, right? And I get it, like the DDT used to be a finishing move and we've moved on and whatever else it may be. We do too many dives. I don't care about all of that. I just think one person, same with the Falcon Arrow, we can bring that in there too. One person should take the Blue Thunder Bomb, make that their finisher. Takeshi's amazing. Sami Zayn's is amazing. I'm sure there's some other people. I don't want to sit here and do a list of people that do the Blue Thunder Bomb. But I just couldn't believe it. I could not, but it blew my brain. And the other cool thing is when that stuff does happen, you realise that we have built this awesome niche community because my Twitter or X just blew up. And it was like, Miller, I can't believe it. You're like, yes, we made it a thing, which I do always enjoy. Otherwise, I think I'd probably give it to something like MJF's world title reign. I think that he has... You know, they say sometimes the man makes the title and the title makes a man. I think MJF has really gone, okay, the company's on my back now, because that's how you see yourself if you are the world champion. And I need to be even more passionate, I need to be even more dedicated, I need to be even better. And I think he's done that throughout the last 12 months, to the point sometimes, you know, I think he's done segments or matches that were more than fine, they were decent, they were good, but he doesn't feel like they matched up, be that because of the ratings or the reaction. And he would go on social media and he would actually talk about that and say, you know what, I'm still learning here and I need to do better. But for all the stuff that he does outside as well with the religion and his Judaism and stuff, I just think he is an inspiration. I think he's a very motivational figure because he is still young. And he was in the Iron Claw movie as an executive producer, and I believe he has a small role too. So, yeah, I think it was obvious he was going to be a megastar. But I do think he's used 23 I should say, to stamp his mark on that. And in 2024, it will get even bigger. Regardless where he goes, he stays in WWE. He stays in AEW, great. He goes to WWE, great. I don't think there's any right or wrong for him. And the ceiling is massive. And I totally believe at one point he'll jump to Hollywood too. Is going to be a crazy, crazy success.
For me, it is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn being able to be not only at WrestleMania in a tag match with each other, winning the tag team championships, but doing it in the main event of night one of WrestleMania. These two guys have been, like, their careers, obviously everybody knows this, they've been following each other forever throughout their entire career, and their track record of having matches with each other and against each other is like legendary at this point. They've been absolutely incredible. And for both of them to be able to be at the sort of pinnacle of their careers at the same time, on the same stage, winning champion belts together in the goddamn main event of WrestleMania. Not only bringing themselves both to the main event of WrestleMania, but the tag team championships being on a position in WWE that has been unheard of since like the Edge and Christian, Hardy's, Dudley's kind of days in terms of the tag team championships and where they've lied. So just being able to do that together and share that moment in the main event of WrestleMania, I think is just one of the coolest things you could probably do as not only like best friends in the wrestling business, but as wrestlers as well, tying it all together. It's just bloody lovely.
Samoa Joe hulking up in Wembley Stadium, baby. Look, I don't think CM Punk versus Samoa Joe at All In was the match of the year, but I think it was the vibe of the year. It was the most fun I've had with anything pro wrestling related on this kind of confusing year. And it was obviously the last match of CM Punk in AEW. It's going to have greater meaning than CM Punk giving him the U in the middle of the ring. Sorry, Joe giving him the U in the middle of the ring. But the whole thing was just a neatly wrapped bundle of banter, really. The most satisfying thing about this is for years and years and years, from so-called smart people online, we've been hearing about how thrashed Samoa Joe is and about how cooked he is. He can't do the things he used to do. Part of that's true. He doesn't like blast around the ring like he did in his TNA peak or in Ring of Honor or whatever when he was facing guys like Punk, funnily enough. But he has adapted himself so wonderfully to his obviously getting old and his gas tank and everything else. And he's become just a sheer aura guy. In this, he was just in stupidity mode, and it was an absolute hoot. Look, we've seen these guys do Hogan stuff before. How many leg drops did CM Punk do in this comeback run alone? It was a riot. But Joe's performance in this match in particular was an absolute riot. From swinging him into the announce booth thing, to walking away, giving him the wanker sign and everything else, to the way he swaggered down to the ring, and then the backstage report about him like getting involved in the backstage argument between him and Jack Penny before the match comes out. So you imagine he's getting in the middle of these two idiots, and then he's going out and doing all of this. He's doing the Hulk Hogan Hulk up spots in the middle of the ring. It was an absolute blast. I'm not one to get annoyed at Dave Meltzer's star ratings. I think that's silly, and I think if you do that consistently, you should get a new hobby, really, because it's just a guy's opinion. However, I have never felt so detached from his opinion and my opinion than when he gave this 3.5 stars. This, to me, is a 5-star hoot.
So I'm going to make probably the most obscure reference this channel has made this year, which is to the Yes Have Some podcast. Shout out to those guys. It's a Ghostbusters podcast. And they tweeted on the 28th of November 2023 that every single pop culture thing that was never going to happen has happened. There's a Ghostbusters 3, there's about to be a Ghostbusters 4 next year. The Cubs won the World Series, Guns N' Roses reunited, and CM Punk is back in the WWE. Now, I'm biased because I'm a huge CM Punk fan, and of course I know he's a very divisive figure, and there are going to be a lot of people that don't care, don't get it, not interested, think he's bad for the company, and it's kind of hard to disagree with that. Completely understand the people that are calling him a hypocrite, of course, because this seems such an impossibility, and he said he would never do it. But anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation, as they used to say, and it's happened. And even if you don't like CM Punk as a wrestler, you have to be kind of interested in what's going to happen next. Obviously, not advocating for people throwing stuff at each other backstage. And I get the benefit of recording this late compared to everyone else, so I get to be able to talk about this. It hadn't happened for everyone else, I don't think, by the time they recorded. So we don't know what this is going to be like. This is very early days as I record this. It's been less than a week. But that's what's interesting about it. Not necessarily just on screen, but like behind the scenes, the drama bubbling away. AEW, that was a really interesting thing in and of itself. What's that going to be like in WWE? Is it going to be a gigantic, mistake? Is it going to be a big fallout from this again? Or perhaps even more interestingly, is there going to be nothing? Is it all going to be playing nice? Which is really, really intriguing. I'm really interested to see what happens there. But when it comes to ring work, there's so many potential matches now for Punk in WWE, guys that weren't there before or guys that were coming up. As well, of course, I just need to mention that the words CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin have been doing the rounds recently. When you talk about impossible, even when Punk was last in WWE, and it was like 11 or 12 years ago, they were teasing the whole Austin versus Punk thing. Even then was kind of like, this is probably not going to happen. Austin was, very retired. even then it was an impossible thing. So for the last decade, it's been incredibly impossible because Punk was never going back to WWE and Austin was never going to work outside of WWE. And now, perhaps the one remaining possible dream match, it could happen. So how could it be anything other than this? Ha!
Cedric, you know it as well as I do. You've been doing this as long as I have. The power's back! Yes! It's actually back! I couldn't pick one moment because there's just been too many from that guy and these guys this year. From Roy's Triple X at the very start of the year to the Survivor Series or whatever show you're watching right now as you've watched this around Christmas time. You can hate it, you can like it, it doesn't matter. It's the best thing going today. Like, as a creative force, right? WWE is, if you're going to invest in it, it's kind of like the worst loan deal you'll ever invest in your life, worse even than a mortgage. You have to wait a lot of years for that interest to mature. 23 in this case, because 2022 was only half a year when he finally started cooking. Look, I'd like to lose a bit of weight in 2023, but if that guy keeps being a chef, what chance have I got? It has just been a constant feast. Like, we've got
a lot of popcorn in the cinema.
We've got the big PLEs to look forward to, but not just them. We've got all the B shows in the middle because they were all goated as well. WWE continues to travel the world doing these locational B shows that make, like, even sort of like the secondary PLEs feel bigger than some of the primary ones. There are a bunch of wrestlers that I just love to watch. I get excited on a Tuesday morning to watch Monday Night Raw. Like, when I can stay up late on a Tuesday night to watch NXT.
Yes!
Like, I just it's back. The power is back, and it will go away. So you should enjoy it while you still can.
So, 2023 has been a hell of a year for wrestling, really, all around. But for me, my best moment, the thing that I just constantly replay, I must have watched it now like 20, 30 times, because I just love it and I will never get bored of it, was a certain entrance that went down at the Backlash pay-per-view. And obviously that was the Backlash that went down in Puerto Rico. And for me, it was probably one of the best pay-per-views of the year as well. It was awesome. It just felt like you'd stumbled into a concert, really, for the entire show. The crowd were on fire. The wrestlers brought it. They just elevated the game to match that crowd. It was just great stuff all around, epic stuff. And for me, the big moment, the peak of that specific show when the crowd was explosive all night long was Bad Bunny's entrance. I had seen nothing like this. You had the drone just starting out behind him as he was in that little, like, just LED alleyway, it looked like, and he stood there. It looks like some kind of gladiator about to walk into the I don't know, the Coliseum, whatever it was, and he was just strutting out, and then the drone comes out as Kambea or Chambea, whatever it's called. Like, that starts playing, everyone's singing along, this drone's going all around the arena. You felt like you were in a stadium. Like, never mind an arena, it was unbelievable. It was marvelous, majestic, magnificent, all these words, and it blows my mind every single time I watch it. I get chills just talking about it. It's what wrestling should be and can be in this current age. It can be cutting edge. It can just be something that you can show anybody who isn't a wrestling fan and they'll immediately go, yeah, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. What is this thing? I want to watch it. And I've done that. I've convinced people to watch wrestling by showing them that video. It is that powerful. So for me, that's why it's my best moments of 2023 in the wrestling world.
Well, I'm double biased here. And I'm going to be a bit of a prick, but why break the habit of a lifetime? I was fortunate enough to attend Double or Nothing 2023 live in person. Now, I'm biased because a lot of people didn't particularly rate that show, laden with interference, some really disappointing matches. But I was there, I loved it, I was biased, and I thought the main event was absolutely incredible. And I'm double biased because, right, this is me going to be a little bit arrogant. Like, I'm really sorry, I hate that in people as well, right? I said on the preview podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from, that at Anarchy in the Arena, right, AEW, and I said this, right, AEW should do some kind of surprise explosion spot, right? And the reason for that prediction was threefold. One, I wanted to see it because explosions just rock. Two, I thought we'd get a massive pop in the building. Three, they couldn't, after the debacle that was Revolution 2021, ever advertise, we are going to do an explosion ever again. It would be a total laughing stock. They would invite ridicule. They would open up old, festering, like really embarrassing wounds. But I thought if they could just do it as a surprise, right? And if it fails again, then there'd be
You know, no blowback. Maybe people wouldn't even know that something was meant to go off and didn't. So I said they should do a secret explosion. And my pick for the spot, and of course Matt Jackson did it much better, was they should do an exploding bat, because you can't really do big explosion spots so close to the audience in a roofed arena. But if they could just go by the entranceway or something and have someone hold someone back, like say Kenny has got Moxley and Hangman Page has got the bat, then Moxley moves, hits it on Kenny's head, you know, the Elite love their sort of their internal strife. I thought, do a secret explosion. If it doesn't go off, because explosions are fucking mint, man. Fucking love an explosion, man. They're just the best.
Yeah.
And then Matt Jackson, doing the Eddie Kingston spot, comes to the ring, and with a law of the sneakers,
Yes.
he just super kicks Jon Moxley in the face, and you see, oh my god, the sparks, the noise. I just love an explosion. And that match, you know, I don't think it'll ever get the love that it deserves, because I think a lot of people were a bit weary of AEW in general and that pay-per-view in particular. But if you look at that melting pot of ideas, it was like PWG, Elite Drama, state-of-the-art athleticism, Memphis brawling, and an FMW element to it as well. Just that is what I want from AEW, this absolutely incredible vision and melting pot. And at its best, not really much this year actually, it is explosive.
The best moment of 2023 was so nearly the return of Sami Zayn's Worlds Apart theme on the 17th of February edition of SmackDown leading into Elimination Chamber, but I believe there's a lot of other Sami-based content in this video, so I will go with Honky Tonk Man's Intercontinental title record being broken. Finally. 35 years that has stood, essentially, 453 days from when the Honky Tonk Man beat Ricky Steamboat to when he dropped it to the Ultimate Warrior at SummerSlam 88. And it's the point being with me is that the reign itself was a bit naff. It was, yes, he's a heel, but it was full of count-out wins, DQ wins, and the wins that did come were over mainly enhancement talent, or like the odd win over Hillbilly Jim or Coco Beware by nefarious means. But there's just, for that to have been some sort of pedestal of being the greatest Intercontinental Champion ever, there's so many other better ones that have been. There's been Mr. Perfect, Bret Hart, Randy Savage, Tito Santana, Don Morocco, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, The Rock, Pedro Morales. You could throw in Chris Jericho, I guess, maybe even The Miz, Ravishing Rick Rude, Greg Valentine, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, even Dolph Ziggler, all better Intercontinental Champions than the Honky Tonk Man. But that has now been brought to an end, thankfully, by Gunther. Yes, the Imperium man, the head of Imperium, finally beat that record this past September when he defeated Chad Gable to retain the Intercontinental title on an episode of Raw. And Gunther himself, this reign that he's been on is right up there as well as making him one of the greatest. He could be the greatest Intercontinental champions of all time. But finally, at last, at least, the greatest of all time, the longest reign, it is not the Honky Tonk Man. Praise be. The fuck is that noise? Sorry, Phil. I'm so distracted by something outside. Hopefully that's not picked up on the video, but we'll find out.